Hello everyone, and welcome back to Picture Mavericks. Today we are talking about Finding Nemo, released in 2003, directed by Andrew Stanton and co-directed by Lee Unkrich, produced by Pixar Animation Studios and released by Walt Disney Pictures. The film stars Albert Brooks as Marlin, Ellen DeGeneres as Dory, and Alexander Gould as Nemo, with a supporting cast that includes Willem Dafoe, Jeffrey Rush, and Allison Janney. Finding Nemo won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, made over $940 million worldwide, and for several years held the record as the highest-grossing animated film ever made. It remains one of the most beloved films Pixar has ever produced. Now, before we get into anything, let me tell you what this film is actually about. Because most people, especially people who watched it as children, remember Finding Nemo as a warm and funny adventure about a clownfish crossing the ocean to find his kidnapped son. And they're not wrong. It is absolutely that. It is one of the most purely enjoyable journeys in animated cinema. But underneath that journey is a story about something that every parent in the audience feels, and that every child in the audience will eventually understand from the other side. Finding Nemo is about the specific way that love and fear become confused with each other, about a father so consumed by what he lost that he's been slowly, lovingly, desperately making his son's world smaller and smaller in an attempt to keep him safe, and about the journey across an ocean that teaches him the difference between protecting someone and preventing them from being alive. That is the film, and it is one of the most emotionally precise things Pixar has ever made. The opening scene of Finding Nemo is one of the most quietly devastating things Pixar has ever committed to screen, and I want to give it the full attention it deserves because everything that follows flows directly from it. Marlin and his wife Coral are new parents, their eggs are about to hatch in their anemone home on the reef, and they're happy, genuinely and completely happy, in the way that people are happy before the thing that changes everything has happened yet. And then a barracuda attacks. Coral is killed. Nearly all of the eggs are destroyed, and Marlin, waking up alone with a single surviving damaged egg, names the egg Nemo after the name Coral had chosen, and holds it, and the film cuts to years later. Pixar gives you this scene in the first 3 minutes of the film, before any comedy, before any adventure, before you have had time to settle into the light family film you thought you were watching. And the reason they do it is because they need you to understand Marlin before you judge him. Because every overprotective thing Marlin does for the rest of the film, every excessive warning and every tight restriction and every catastrophizing reaction to the smallest danger makes complete and total sense if you know what happened in that opening scene. If you know that the last time Marlin let his guard down the world took everything from him in less than 30 seconds. Marlin's fear is not irrational. It is the completely understandable response of a person who knows from direct experience exactly how quickly and how completely the world can take something irreplaceable away. The opening scene does not excuse Marlin's parenting, but makes it human, and that distinction is everything. Marlin, voiced by Albert Brooks with extraordinary precision, is one of the most carefully constructed parent figures in animated cinema, and the reason he works so well is that the film never lets him be simply wrong. He is wrong, in the sense that his fear has genuinely limited Nemo's world and damaged their relationship. But he is also a grieving widower who has been raising a child alone on a reef in the ocean, which is objectively full of things that want to eat both of them. And his anxiety is not a personality flaw, so much as it is a permanent injury that never properly healed. Albert Brooks plays Marlin with a quality of exhausted love that is immediately recognizable to anyone who has ever been responsible for another person's safety, the specific tension of someone who is always running a threat assessment in the background of every pleasant moment, who cannot fully relax because relaxing is what you were doing when the worst thing happened. The film is deeply sympathetic to Marlin, even as it is completely clear-eyed about what his fear has cost Nemo. And holding both of those things at once, the sympathy and the critique, is what makes him such a rich and genuinely moving character. His journey across the ocean is not just a rescue mission. It is the first time in years that Marlin has been forced to engage with the world on its own terms rather than from behind the controlled safety of the anemone. And every terrifying thing the ocean throws at him is also teaching him something he needed to learn. Nemo, voiced by Alexander Gould, is the other half of the film's central argument, and I want to make sure he gets the same attention as Marlin because his arc is just as complete and just as carefully constructed. Nemo is a kid who is smart and funny and full of the specific energy of someone who wants to prove themselves in a world that keeps telling them to be careful. And the thing that makes a situation genuinely poignant rather than just frustrating is that the person telling him to be careful is doing it out of love. Nemo knows his father loves him. He is not in any doubt about that. What he is in doubt about is whether his father sees him as a person capable of handling the world or as a fragile thing that needs to be protected from it. And that distinction matters enormously to a child who is already managing a physical difference that could make him feel limited. His act of defiance at the beginning of the film, swimming out to touch the boat to prove something to his friends and to himself, is not just rebellion. It is a declaration. It is Nemo insisting that he gets to find out for himself what he can and cannot do rather than having his limits decided for him before he has had the chance to test them. And then he is taken. And the film splits into two parallel journeys. Marlin crossing the ocean to find Nemo, and Nemo in a fish tank in Sydney learning the same lesson his father is learning on the other side of the world. Dory, voiced by Ellen DeGeneres in one of the great voice performances in animated film history, is the character who makes Marlin's journey possible, and I want to explain what she is doing in the story beyond being funny and lovable, because she is doing something much more specific than that. Dory has short-term memory loss. She cannot retain new information for more than a few minutes at a time, and this means she lives entirely and completely in the present moment, because the present moment is the only one available to her. She cannot worry about what happened yesterday, because she does not remember yesterday. She cannot catastrophize about what might happen tomorrow, because tomorrow is an abstraction she does not have access to. She experiences every moment as it arrives, with complete openness and complete attention, and this quality, which could be simply played for comedy, is actually the most important thing she brings to Marlin. Marlin is a man who lives entirely in the past and the future, in the memory of what he lost and the terror of what he might lose again, and almost never in the present moment of what he actually has. Dory cannot do anything else but live in the present, and being in her company for the duration of this journey gradually, gently, and completely against his will, teaches Marlin how to do the same. Her most important line in the film is delivered simply and without drama. Just keep swimming. 3 words. The entire philosophy of the film in 3 words. While Marlin is crossing the ocean, Nemo is in a fish tank in a dentist's office in Sydney, and the tank gang, the collection of fish who have been living there, are doing something specific in the structure of the story that is easy to overlook. The tank gang, led by Gil, voiced by Willem Dafoe, is a community of fish who have adapted to captivity in different ways. Some of them have made peace with it. Some of them are actively planning to escape, and all of them have developed a kind of family around each other in the absence of anything else. What the tank gives Nemo is community, specifically community that does not treat his lucky fin as a problem to be managed or a source of worry to be carefully navigated around. The tank fish see Nemo as a member of the group from the moment he arrives, and ask him to contribute to their escape plan based on what he can do rather than managing him around what they assume he cannot. Gil in particular is the mirror for Nemo's relationship with Marlin, because Gil also has a damaged fin, also came from the ocean, and also has a burning need to get back to it regardless of the risk, and watching Gil's combination of capability and determination gives Nemo a model for thinking about himself that he has not had access to before. The tank is not just a location. It is the environment where Nemo learns that he is more capable than his father's fear has led him believe. One of the things Finding Nemo does that almost no other animated film manages to the same degree is build a world that feels genuinely real in its beauty and its danger simultaneously. And I want to spend a moment on how Pixar achieves that, because it is central to everything the film is doing. The ocean in Finding Nemo is not a safe backdrop for the adventure. It is an active and genuinely threatening environment that contains things that want to eat Marlin and Dory at regular intervals, and the film does not soften that reality or make it cartoonishly safe. The sharks are real sharks with real appetites, even if they are trying therapy. The jellyfish field is genuinely dangerous, and Marlin and Dory pay a real physical cost for going through it. The East Australian current is powerful and wild and beautiful in a way that makes you understand exactly why Marlin is terrified of the ocean and exactly why Nemo loves the idea of it. And then there are the moments of pure underwater beauty: the whale, the turtle ride on the current, the bioluminescent deep sea, sequences of such visual magnificence that the film earns its sense of wonder completely, making the ocean a place that is simultaneously the most dangerous and the most astonishing environment imaginable. This duality is the film's answer to Marlin's fear. The ocean is not safe, and it is worth it. Nemo's lucky fin, his smaller, undersized fin that resulted from the barracuda attack on his egg, is handled by Finding Nemo in a way that I think deserves specific praise, because it would have been very easy to handle it badly, and Pixar handles it exactly right. The film does not make Nemo's fin the source of his drama. It does not treat it as a tragedy or a limitation that needs to be overcome in a climactic moment or a source of cruelty from other characters that needs to be resolved. It is simply part of who Nemo is. It is there in every scene. It affects some things and does not affect others, and Nemo himself has a completely straightforward relationship with it. He calls it his lucky fin, not his bad fin or his broken fin or his problem fin. His lucky fin. That naming is a choice. It is a choice Nemo made at some point before the film begins, and it tells you something essential about his character, that he has already decided this thing about himself is not a tragedy. It is his, and he has chosen how to carry it. The film allows that choice to stand without challenging it, without a scene where Nemo has to prove something specifically related to his fin or overcome a specific limitation it creates in a dramatically convenient moment. His fin is there, it is part of him, and the story is not about that. That is a quiet but genuinely important piece of representation. Disability as identity rather than obstacle, and Finding Nemo handles it with complete naturalness. I want to walk through the major encounters on Marlin's journey because each of them is teaching him something specific, and the cumulative effect of all of them together is the transformation the film needs to complete. The sharks, who are in a support group for not eating fish, teach Marlin that things which look completely terrifying are not always what they appear to be, that the most dangerous-looking things sometimes have different depths than their surface suggests, even if Bruce does have a brief relapse. The jellyfish field, where Dory convinces Marlin to swim through rather than around because it looks beautiful and she wants to bounce on them, teaches Marlin that the cost of following joy into danger is real and painful, but that Dory does not regret it, and that her relationship with risk is not stupidity, but a genuine and considered embrace of experience. The whale is the most significant encounter, because Marlin is inside a whale that is taking them somewhere he cannot control, and Dory tells him that the whale is saying to let go to the bottom, and Marlin says, "How do you know something bad is not going to happen?" And Dory says, "You cannot know," and they let go, and the whale takes them exactly where they need to be. That exchange is the core lesson of the entire film, stated completely and directly. You cannot know, and you let go anyway. The darkest moment in Finding Nemo arrives when Marlin receives what he believes is news of Nemo's death, and it is handled with a seriousness that the film has earned by this point. The message travels through the ocean via a chain of fish passing it along, each one adding their own panicked energy to it. And by the time it reaches Marlin, it has become certain death, where the original was much more ambiguous, and Marlin, who has been pushing himself past every fear for the entire journey on the belief that Nemo is alive, stops. He tells Dory he cannot do this anymore. He tells her that he promised Nemo he would never let anything happen to him, and now something has happened, and he has to go home. And Dory, who will not remember this conversation, who will lose Marlin the moment he swims away and lose the memory of everything they have been through together, tells him that he cannot go, that she needs him because when she is with him, she remembers things, and without him, she is just going to be alone again, and she cannot bear that. This scene works because it is simultaneously about Marlin's grief and Dory's genuine need, and the specific moral weight of being the person that someone else is counting on to keep going, and it pulls Marlin back not through false hope, but through the real and human truth that the people who love us sometimes need us to continue even when we have stopped believing we can. Meanwhile, in the tank, Nemo has learned that he is going to be given to Darla, the dentist's niece, and that fish given to Darla do not tend to survive the experience, and the tank gang puts their escape plan into motion. The plan involves Nemo swimming into the filter mechanism to jam it with a pebble, forcing the dentist to clean the tank manually and put all the fish in bags, from which they can roll to the window and into the ocean. And here is what this moment represents in Nemo's arc. This is the first completely autonomous action Nemo takes in the entire film. Not a defiance of someone else's authority, not a reaction to what someone else is doing to him, but a plan he executes himself that requires him to use his body in a specific and demanding way that puts him at real risk, and that he chooses to do because other lives depend on it. He swims into the filter. He jams it. It works. And then it stops working, and the stone is sucked free, and Nemo is pulled toward the mechanism. And for a moment the film makes you believe the worst, and then Gil helps him out, and the plan moves forward. Nemo succeeds not because his lucky fin was not a factor, but because it was not the determining factor. The determining factor was his courage and his decision to try, and the film lets that be the entire truth of the moment without qualification. Marlin and Nemo are reunited, briefly, and then separated again almost immediately when Nemo appears to be dead in the next sequence, and Marlin's response to that second apparent loss is the clearest demonstration of how much he has changed. He lets Nemo go, not because he does not love him, because he loves him enough to let him do the thing Nemo is trying to do, which is swim into a net full of fish and convince them all to swim down together to break the net free, which is a plan that requires Nemo to be trusted with real stakes and real danger. Marlin, the man who would not let Nemo swim to school without an anxiety spiral, watches his son swim into a net and does not stop him. And Nemo succeeds. And they surface together. And the reunion that follows is not a dramatic speech or a tearful declaration. It is two fish in the ocean, and Marlin telling Nemo he does not hate his lucky fin, and Nemo asking if he can go to school, and Marlin saying okay. That okay is the entire emotional payoff of the film. Not a grand gesture or a climactic moment of heroism, just a father saying yes to his son because he finally understands that yes is the most loving thing he can say. So let us bring it all together. Finding Nemo is a film about one truth that every parent eventually has to face, and that every child eventually needs their parent to face. And that truth is this: you cannot protect someone from life. You can only love them through it. Marlin spent years making Nemo's world smaller because a smaller world seemed safer, because the ocean is genuinely dangerous and the memory of what he lost in it is permanently with him. And because love that is mixed with fear can start to look like restriction from the outside, even when it feels like protection from the inside. The journey across the ocean does not cure Marlin's fear. He is still afraid at the end of the film. He will probably always be afraid, because that is what the barracuda left in him, and that wound does not close completely. But he learns to act in spite of the fear rather than letting the fear make his decisions. And that difference, acting in spite of fear rather than in service of it, is what the film is really about. Dory's philosophy, just keep swimming, is not optimism in the empty, reassuring sense. It is a practical instruction. When the worst happens and the fear is loudest and stopping feels like the only option, just keep swimming, keep moving, keep being present in the world rather than withdrawing from it. My personal take on this film is that Finding Nemo is one of the 2 or 3 greatest films Pixar has ever made, and I say that with complete conviction. It works on every level simultaneously, as a children's adventure, as an emotional story for adults, as a technically astonishing piece of animation, and as a genuinely wise film about what love requires of us when it is most difficult. The opening scene alone contains more emotional truth than most films manage in their entire runtime. And the film earns every feeling it produces, not through manipulation, but through the specific and careful work of making you understand these characters completely before it asks you to feel anything about them. Finding Nemo is not just a great animated film. It is a great film. Most people watched it as children and felt something they did not yet have the words for. Now you have the words. Thank you for watching Picture Mavericks. And if this breakdown gave you something new to think about, consider subscribing because we go deeper, so you do not have to. See you in the next one.